It's loading the YouTube stream. Oh, there it goes.
Come
We're live on YouTube.
Thank you, Alex.
Actually, really weird to see myself on the live stream when this is just bizarre.
Disconcerting, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, slightly.
We all appreciate the grace. Deanna is visiting family in Canada, and she is our tech genius when it comes to these meetings. So we're all working to make sure we're covering all of Deanna's brilliance.
This is the Training Alex Day.
Hi, Barbara.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Barbara Peterson.
Well, your hair looks lovely. It is 8:45, but we'll go ahead and give folks a couple minutes to jump in as I'm sure we'll see everyone in the next 3 minutes. How's everyone enjoying this interesting weather?
I'm hoping the wind goes away.
It is not windy in the East Mountains at all. It's so weird when it's like that.
I'm envious then. However, my dog loves it. A black dog in bright sunshine at 90 degrees is not a happy animal.
Not a fan. Huh? We just need one more person to have a quorum and we can get started, Madam Chair. Good morning, Enrico.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday.
That's the way.
I am just trying to get my technology. It's been a mess all week long. All right, that's probably as good as it's going to get.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning. Good to see everybody.
Good morning, Commissioner Olivas. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I stayed up late last night watching City Council stuff. I'm a little tired.
Wondering how that was going to impact some folks today. Barbara, will there be other board members joining you?
You know, I am not sure. I believe, let me send to Courtney. We weren't sure if Peggy was going to be here or not, and I don't see her. Courtney was going to join if she didn't. So let me text Courtney and say that Peggy isn't here. Does she have the, okay.
She and Danielle both have the links and everything.
Okay.
Oh, we're almost, why don't we give it one more minute, Justine, and then maybe we could do just switch up a little bit and do announcements, board announcements first, and then move into our first agenda item if we don't have a quorum yet.
maybe it's that just like everything else about ABC is unique and special, maybe the 8:45 time start makes a difference in how people sign in.
It very well could be. That was a former board chair a couple chairs ago that decided that was gonna work.
Well, it's fine because for some reason there seem to be a lot of 10 a.m. Thursday morning meetings. And so actually starting at 8:45 is perfect.
I think that might have been one of the reasons that she had this, we had kind of moved it because there were some conflicts and we've been meeting at this time since the beginning of time. At 8:30 anyway, and that was a challenge. And all right. Madam Chair, why don't we go ahead and get started. Sorry, Justine.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy to see you all. We will go ahead and get started. We do have a very full agenda today, so I'm going to propose that we postpone the approval of the October minutes till next month. Also, we don't have a quorum, so that works out. Does anyone have any objection to that? Okay, we will also push the full service community school grant MOU to January due to changes in the requirements and submission deadline from the Federal Department of Education. So we'll go ahead and dive in to any board announcements. Does anyone have any ABC board related announcements?
No.
Okay. So Danette, are we ready to move into supportive infrastructure?
Barbara, are we good to start moving forward, or should we?
So if it's possible to switch around the order of the agenda, that would be great. I'm hoping that Courtney will join because we're supposed to have 2 board members for any listening session.
Got you. Okay. Let's see here. So I know, Justine, I know that we have a presentation from Inez, and if those folks are good with that, we could do that first if everyone's okay with that.
Sure. Okay, so let's move along to the Community Bright Spots section, or at least Inez's presentation. So we'll highlight 3 of the 6 key practices, and we usually have a bright spot for each key practice, but today we wanted to show how the practices are integrated. So Inez Elementary Community School Coordinator Rochelle Ford is going to highlight powerful student, family, and community engagement, collaborative leadership, shared power and voice, and creating a culture of belonging, safety, and care. So Rochelle, please take it away.
Thank you. Again, my name is Rochelle Ford. I've been the community school coordinator at Inez Elementary School for 9 years now, and I actually happen to be employed by Children's Choice, which is a nonprofit primarily providing on-campus before and after school programming and summer camps to 11 elementary schools here in APS, including Inez. I'm happy to be here today to share with the board and our listeners about our Joel Anthony Mumma Memorial 5th grade scholarship program. And although the program was not officially named this until the 3rd year of existence, we do honor an Inez student who tragically died in a car accident during his 1st grade year at Inez. I'll speak more about this family connection a little later. And as I proceed through the storytelling, I trust that you will indeed see that this program touches on several of the key practices of community schools, including expanded culturally enriched learning opportunities, collaborative leadership, rigorous community-connected classroom instruction, and integrated systems of support, along with APS goals numbers 1, 3, and 4, focusing on literacy, post-secondary readiness, and skills, habits, and mindsets aligned to life success. So, as to the story of how all things came together to begin this program, as a relatively new coordinator, I had attended the APS and United Way attendance conference in the fall of 2017. From the guest speaker, I learned this interesting fact. Studies show that when a student has as little as $500 saved for continuing education, they are exponentially more likely to graduate from high school and engage in continuing education following their graduation. I also really started to realize that I was fortunate to have grown up in a family where it was never a question if I was going to attend college, but where and how many degrees would I earn. So, as a former educator myself, as a new caretaker of the Inez community, with my own stepchildren planning to attend our affordable New Mexico colleges, this all sort of started to come together in my thinking about how something so simple as $500 could make such a huge impact on those who hadn't had the luxury of thinking about post-high school education. Well, wouldn't you know it, I happened to be chatting with a member of my community school council and repeated this fact in some of my thoughts. And the person I was chatting with also happens to be a financial planner by trade. And his immediate, and I mean immediate response was, we need to make this happen at Inez. So with that in mind, we began building our plane mid-flight, and this program was founded in the spring of 2018 with the goal of changing the trajectory and futures of our students. When we initially began this program, the essay writing and submissions were optional and were written by students outside of school. We quickly realized this was a bit problematic for a number of reasons. And first of all, it wasn't equitable to the students who honestly were more of our target audience. They were simply slipping through the cracks. If they were not supported at home or didn't have a history of continuing education in their family, they really were not able at 10 years old to understand how to self-motivate and complete the writing on their own. Additionally, we also saw that those who did get assistance at home were submitting essays that really were not in their own voice, which means some essays were not written solely by the student. So the Community School Council brought these observations to the fifth grade teachers, and through much conversation and with approval of our instructional council, since the spring of 2021, Inez fifth grade teachers now include this project in their classroom curriculum. This way, all students have equal access and opportunity to submit their work and receive helpful guidance on their writing from the entire fifth grade team, including special education teachers and the EA staff. We also make it very clear that this is not an essay contest. It's not a popularity contest. We say that this essay is simply the means by which students can share with us about their ideas, hopes, and dreams for their future. And as a side note, I want to share that the moment I knew we were on the right path was when I was reading something in what turned out to be one of our winning essays, when the student wrote, and I could get choked up reading it out loud right now, but the student wrote, "I want to be the first in my family to attend college so that I can be a role model to my younger brother." Very impactful. Our community school council decided to really start promoting this opportunity for all grades so that by the time students reached fifth grade, they were very aware and very clear on the goals for this project. So in February of 2023, we created a career day for all Inez students from kinder through fifth grade. There were 30 volunteer guest speakers conducting workshops on their trades and represented a variety of professional fields, including auto mechanics, medicine, military, anestheticians, the law, scientists, artists, the New Mexico film industry, writers and content creators, and more. Students were surveyed prior to Career Day to request which career workshops they would like to learn more about. And so using their feedback, we placed each student in 3 separate workshops that day. The planning team's goal for that day was to instill in our students the importance of education and to show that no matter what career one wishes to pursue, there are training programs to teach you how to do that job well. Feedback from all the students, but especially the 5th grade students, showed that the day was indeed impactful. We heard statements like, "I never knew there were so many different kinds of nurses," or "I learned I could be a mechanic and a business owner." We could not do this at all if it weren't for the group of volunteers that make the scholarship award happen, and I want to take a moment to explain how the winners are selected. The teachers and I decide together on a deadline that works for their planning, and the essays, once completed, are uploaded to a Google folder. Every year, there are between 15 and 20 volunteer reader adjudicators from the community. These volunteer readers include members of the Inez and Snow Heights Neighborhood Association, friends and colleagues of our council members, friends of mine from my Rotary Club, representatives from other community school partners, and representatives from Children's Choice. Each reader receives a Google folder with a randomly generated group of essays, along with our rubric, which was created by the council. Each essay is read by at least 4 readers, so we have a variety of input and potential scores. After the rubrics are completed, the scores are totaled and put in order by our volunteer score verifier. All of these very careful, reliable, and transparent precautions are to make it very clear that every effort has been made to be fair and equitable to all students, and ultimately to make the winning essays very apparent. The total number of scholarships awarded each year is determined by the overall quality of the top scoring essays, with consideration of our available finances, while also retaining some donations for financial security for upcoming years. We are fortunate to be supported by Children's Choice in this scholarship program endeavor, as they house the necessary funding we provide for this program. We are also extremely fortunate to have a terrific corporate sponsor, Western Sky Community Care, and we receive donations from other individuals, including, honestly, my own family, members from my Rotary Club, neighborhood businesses, and through other connections. I also feel very thankful that Joel Anthony's family continues to support this program, both financially and in spirit. Joel's mother and sister are honorary readers every year, and his mother made a significant financial donation in what would have been his 5th grade year at Inez. Following the awarding of the scholarships at the 5th grade Moving Up ceremony, the community school council member that I mentioned before, Nate Roybal, and his colleagues meet with each family individually to open the 529 account for each student winner. The account is in the student's name, and there are built-in controls and regulations that make it solely an account for the student. I also want to make it abundantly clear that Nate and his colleagues decline any commission or potential financial gain from these accounts, and any fees typically associated with these types of accounts are instead returned to the account for investment growth. These professionals take the time to provide financial education for families of the award winners and to encourage them to make contributions regularly or with a one-time deposit. We receive copies of the student account statements so we can monitor the growth and progress of these accounts. And just a little bit more about the benefits for the students. In addition to the tangible benefit of receiving the funding to open a 529 account, there are other intangible benefits as well, such as learning how to read application requirements, and not just for scholarship opportunities, but students are therefore better equipped to understand job applications, their own banking paperwork when they're adults, healthcare and benefit documents, etc. They can also see that applying for scholarships is very doable and just takes a little bit of experience, time, and confidence. They feel more connected to their school and community, which increases their sense of belonging. And they have improved self-esteem, growth, maturity, and vision for the future. To date, we have awarded 80 scholarships, and we are continuing to learn and grow. the program as we reflect every year on how we can do better. The Inez Community School Council has a scholarship program subcommittee to review where we are, where we want to grow, and how to put policy and systems into place if and when small hiccups pop up. We are at a place where we're dreaming about how this program can be replicatable for other community schools in our city. And we are looking forward to next year when our first 2 award winners will be seniors in high school, and we can begin to collect their stories and data on the impact this award has had for them over the years of their educational journey. I'm happy to clarify any points or take any questions from the board, and I'd like to thank you for your time in learning more about our program.
Thank you, Rochelle. Wonderful. Eric, I see you have a question.
Yeah, not a question. I just wanted to commend the Inez community. This is really awesome. Inez is in my district, so that's an
Good,
added
thank you.
bonus here. Just super excited about this, and congratulations on the success. It looks like you've set up about $40,000 in scholarships. That's no small amount, and I know that there's been talk about this at the state level. You know, giving students incentives to be in school, and giving incentives to graduate, to reach certain milestones. And I hope this is something we can scale and get some support from the legislature and other funding agencies, as well as the private sector, like you've done. So great work. I just wanted to commend you.
Eric, you have a standing invitation to our 5th grade moving up ceremony.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments or questions? Okay, well, thank you, Rochelle, for the great presentation.
you.
It's wonderful to hear about. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
And now I believe, Barbara, are you and Danielle ready to present?
I believe so. It looks like Danielle has joined us. I'll launch in, I'll start, and Danielle can add in whatever she feels is important or what I leave out. As you all know, we're Superintendent Scott Elder will leave us at the end of June. He is going to continue through that contractual year. But in the meantime, starting now in the late fall, we're reaching out to the community to really gather thoughts and ideas and concerns from the community about what our new superintendent will look like, what his attitude will be, what his attributes are, and what his priorities are.
Or hers.
What's that?
Or hers.
Or hers. Yes. Thank you. As you know, the board has worked with the community to develop our goals and guardrails, that vision for where we want the district to go and how we're focused on what happens to students when they're at school. It's up to the superintendent to develop the strategic plan. And right now we do have our Emerging Stronger strategic plan that's been put out to the community, that was developed with a whole array of ideas. To me, the important thing is we want consistency. We want to stay focused on the work with students. I believe that's always been the priority of the district. It's always been the priority of the staff. But I think there has been a real intention to make sure that the entire district is aligned with that. What's significant, though, is that the strategic plan and the way that it's carried out really is in the hands of the superintendent. And so the experience, knowledge, outlook, commitment to the community, all of those things are really and truly in the hands of the superintendent for how it gets implemented in schools. And so what we'd like to do, this is a real abbreviated session. What I would like you to do is to start out by putting in the chat, and Danette, I may need some help with the technology, I find that sometimes I can't save the chat. So if you can help me with that, then we can get it from you and make sure that we put it together with all of the other comments. Oh, and before we do that, I am going to put in the chat the connection to the district website that has all of the information. We have upcoming next week on Monday the 13th, there'll be a listening session at West Mesa High School from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And on Thursday the 16th, the same thing will happen at Manzano High School from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And what makes these sessions so important is that the search firm that's been hired to do the initial outreach and screening of applicants will be at those two outreach meetings. And it's really important for them to hear directly from the community what we believe we need in a new superintendent. And so even though we're going to collect thoughts now, I really encourage you to participate in one of those two meetings. And as well, in that link, you'll find a survey for more comments, inputs, thoughts about the superintendent. So Danielle, do you have things to add?
No, Barbara, I think that's great. I think we want to really focus on what this group thinks are the most important characteristics, traits, attributes to have in the new superintendent. And so I think really focusing the chat on that, what are the most important things you want to make sure that we see, so that these characteristics, traits, and attributes can be transferred to the search firm so that they can use those when they're evaluating the first round of candidates that are coming through. And I think as folks have seen, it's a pretty quick timeline. The application is open now at the link that Member Peterson shared. With applications coming in and closing in mid-December, there's a really quick turnaround of about 3 days where the firm is going to review. Well, they're reviewing as they come in, but we'll have reviewed all of the applicants based on this criteria that you all are generating right now, as well as the other criteria that we're getting through our community outreach and engagement events. And so it's really important. So if you could be putting in the chat box the characteristics, traits, attributes that you think are most important. And then the next thing we're going to do after that is any characteristic, trait, attribute, anything that you do not want in a superintendent. So be thinking about that as well. And as folks begin to generate traits and characteristics in the chat box, also wanted to create space for any questions.
Just add to the board, if you, I know some people are on a single screen. So if you want to say your comment, myself, Chloe, Lindsay can we'll capture it in the chat. And just also a reminder, this is being recorded and it'll be on YouTube as well, for anyone to view along the lines of just making sure we capture everything that folks have to comment. And the attendees can also use the question and answer function, and we can capture things there.
I added my email, so if for some reason you're finding it hard to use the Zoom format, you can also send me an email and I'll record it like that. The other thing, especially for those of you that have connections to other organizations, we are happy to make sure that we get out as broadly as possible to other organizations that you feel may not show up at West Mesa or Manzano, but whose voice we really need to hear. And that's especially true for any of the coordinators that have councils that might benefit from a meeting like this, an outreach meeting.
So it looks like we're having, we have a number of folks writing in the chat. So real world classroom experience, visionary leader, willing to take calculated risks and innovate, collaborative mindset internally and externally. I apologize for my dog. Something is going on outside. Someone who, I've been quiet till I unmute. Someone who listens first before speaking, has experiences leading schools focusing on experiential learning, has superintendency experiences, experienced educator, vision for equity in education, does not accept status quo, understands and is ready to lead innovation and deep learning in all classrooms. There's also a comment in the question and answer. APS needs a warrior champion superintendent who is going to champion public education and transition the district out of scarcity budgeting and demand that the state invest its newfound wealth, literally billions and extra dollars, into investing in whole schools like community schools and high pay for educators and all school staff, is willing to take the time to hear community school voices, willing to partner with unions.
You are welcome to continue adding to that, but if you're sort of at the end of those thoughts, go ahead and start thinking about what you definitely do not want to see in a superintendent, and you can start adding those. Make sure you add "not" at the beginning of your comment so we know which column it belongs in. Jeanette, there was that one chunk of things that weren't in the chat. Can you make sure that we get those as well? I'm not sure what format they came into you on.
I've got saved in the question and answer.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see.
It's like we have in the chat, not risk averse, not command and control leadership style. I don't want a corporate reformer more focused on test scores than learning. Knows that we don't have all the answers yet.
Great. And are there any questions about the process or anything else related to the search?
Danielle, maybe I think you might have said this and I just missed it. The dates are, we're collecting information now, December reviewing, and then when is the anticipated, like, what is that process after reviewing the applications? What does that look like?
I think.
Yep. So the application.
Go ahead, Danielle.
So the application is open right now and will close on December 12th. According to the timeline, they're going to narrow to the semifinalists who will get a video interview with the board by December 15th. So they're already reviewing, and then that next step will be a video recording with the board. And then after that, that'll further narrow them so that in January, there'll be some finalists who will have interviews. And then we're also going to host a community town hall. So those will be scheduled in January. We'll bring community together to also be able to ask questions of the finalists with the end goal of having a decision made by the end of January. And we've really been looking, again, Scott Elder's contract ends June 30th. And so we've sort of set it as a July 1 start date, but also there's lots of flexibility and wiggle room in there in terms of whether the next superintendent can start sooner and maybe have some overlap. But that's sort of the overall time frame. And so the survey itself will stay open through mid-November to make sure that we capture as much feedback as possible. And then we're going to continue these community outreach events where we're also capturing feedback that way through mid-December, just to allow time to get out on as many calendars as possible.
So the new board, the newly elected board, will be the ones who do the final selection. But it's really important to start the search now, and the views of the community are going to be the most valuable thing right now, and that is consistent, and that's what's going to really guide that search. That's why this process right now is so important.
And Barbara, on that note, I wanted to ask a question. Is there going to be intentional involvement of the 3 new board members before they're seated?
Mm-hmm. There's an onboarding process that's being developed, and definitely the search will be a critical part of that.
Okay, great.
Okay, it looks like I'm not seeing any more comments right now, but you are welcome to continue to add them. Again, please spread the word. And in fact, I'm going to send out a letter to all of the coordinators myself. I just need to update my list. We found a glitch in the website that when they transitioned from one platform to another, the coordinators, boy, I can't speak this morning. The coordinators got left off of staff lists. So I'm behind on updating my list. That is taken care of now, and I'll send out the notice and invitation. And I know, Danette, you have as well already. So we just want to hit them from as many sides as possible, because I think our coordinators have one of the deepest connections to the community. And so for them to spread the word to all of the networks that they have is really important.
I would also just like to, one of my questions or wonderings about this process is that we now have 76 community schools within the network. 61 are traditional. Majority of the 16 or 15 that have state grants that are charters are APS charter schools. As to whether or not part of the search is looking at whether or not someone has community school experience or has the mindset that can integrate, move automatically towards, hey, we're doing this initiative. How does this work within a community school that is engaging community and working through an integrated practice of whole child education as they're making decisions or working with the leadership of the district to make decisions around these initiatives? What we have found challenging for community schools is breaking down silos is hard to begin with, but then you layer on all the things that come with being a community school, and it creates an overwhelmedness feeling for principals and staff who are really committed. And this is something that we've seen across the country. Where if a leader doesn't have that, either that trait or that knowledge, it's a struggle to develop what we believe is the best way to deliver education.
What the role that Danielle and I are playing right now is to listen, not to add comments. So that your statement right there, Danette, is exactly the kind of input that we need to hear from the community. That is very strongly needs to be given to the search firm, so that becomes part of what they are looking for. So thank you for that. We need to write it down, make sure that it gets heard.
We'll write it down. We will also promote it. Thank you. I appreciate that comment. So we had understanding.
Okay, well, thank you all for the great conversation. And now I'm going to pass it back to Danette for a couple of upcoming holiday related events.
Sorry, lost my mute button. I just wanted to recognize, so we have so many community schools, and this is just a quick snapshot of some of the things that are happening. And, you know, community schools, as I mentioned, complex, right? It's both about programs and services, but it's about how we decide what those programs and services are, and how we connect that to what Community Voice is expressing to schools. And I wanted to highlight just some of the things that we received from schools in the last week or so about what they're doing for the holidays. And if you look at this screen, we're like 75 Thanksgiving meals between Jimmy Carter and West Mesa. Carlos Ray looking at 20 full Thanksgiving dinner boxes, 28 from Longfellow. Inez is working with partners to do 10 Thanksgiving boxes with one partner, and an entire celebration for 50 families that result in a family event, and having 50 students get coats. Atrisco Heritage is anticipating 150 Thanksgiving food boxes. The Albuquerque Collegiate is 25. Edward Gonzalez working to partner with the American Legion and delivering, you know, they're just starting out and developing some of their work. Pajarito, of course, is really like 75 families. Marie Hughes, 25. Mark Armijo is adopting. They're currently recruiting folks to adopt 50 plus families to make sure that they have a really nice holiday season. And then in the box to the left, these are events that Longfellow sent that are just community events that are being promoted throughout our schools to make sure that families have what they need. Well, this is amazing. Again, this is a very small snapshot, 12 schools out of 61 that had sent us some things. Every one of the messages that we received on these talked about during their assessment process or check-in assessment process at the beginning of the year, food insecurity for certain families was noted, and that is what they based recruiting partners and connecting families to this opportunity that folks have. And I just think it's, you know, all schools do things, right? This is not something that is necessarily unique to community schools. What I do think is unique is the incredible intention of developing the partnerships and making sure the families that need and want the resource are the ones that have the first and immediate access to the resource, and it's easily accessible. I do believe that's what makes the difference in how we do our work in community schools, and the community school coordinators make this happen. And it is such a critical piece of this work, and they are the people that ensure this happens over and over and over. And some schools like Atrisco Heritage, Longfellow, they've been doing this for a very long time to ensure that their families, their students can celebrate and really have that freedom of just joy at the holiday season rather than worrying. And a lot of our elementary school kids worry about their families, right? We hear that all the time. And so these are ways that we support that. I also want to share, see if I couldn't get it to work a second ago because it keeps jumping, sorry. The coordinators also at some of the schools wanted you all to join in the fun. Carlos Ray is having coffee with the principal on November 15th. We will send out these slides. The links are live for the board members. Mark Armijo is having a community school Fasole night on November 9th. That is today. Huge celebration I want to click on this one because I really think this is amazing. The Cal Ripken STEAM Center, Marie Hughes was awarded a STEAM Center, and so the link is in here for their ribbon cutting ceremony. Extremely cool. We want to celebrate them for that. You'll have more on that later on in the year as they get it going. Sorry. Pajarito has homework diners. The link in this screen or in this slide has the entire calendar of all of the homework diners for Pajarito, which is funded by the city of Albuquerque, which is super exciting. And it's got just so many opportunities for families, teachers, and community to learn together and break bread together and deepen their relationships, which really deepens the engagement. And then Inez has their ongoing family fitness nights with Coach Michael Anderson, who I'm pretty sure has been doing family fitness at Inez since the beginning of time. But one of the amazing things when they became a community school is they started having their free grocery store. And then they also have other community partners that offer resources and supports to families so that families can come and have a good time together. But then if they also have a need that maybe they would like to where they would like to get some resource, it's right there, easily accessible. Just a part of the things that they do, and normalizing that we all need help sometimes, and really makes it accessible to families. So I'm sure there are many, many more going on in all of our community schools. These were just the ones that happened to get us the information this week. And we're gonna continue collecting information like this from now on, so that we can really gather as coordinators, think about, oh, this, I need to tell them this, because they're so busy serving in the community that we don't always get all the information from them that they might want to share or highlight with you all. We'll have an ongoing join in the fun kind of section of our board meetings so that you all can attend if they're in your, if you're nearby that school, or that school is in your area, and you want to drop into some of the cool events that they have throughout the year. We'll make sure that you know about those. Any questions, comments that anyone would like to share regarding or ask about any of these opportunities? Excellent.
Danette, I also wanted to, it wasn't in the Google form, but wanted to also invite the board to Via Vista Elementary is having tea with the treasurer this coming Monday from 5 to 6. It's a really exciting event. I'll find the flyer and stick it in the chat so folks have access to that as well.
Great, thank you, Danette and Chloe. And so we just wanted to share, oh wait, first we would like to see if there are any community announcements. So please put your announcements in the chat at this time. Are we seeing any come in, Danette?
I am not.
Okay. Well, feel free to put those in the chat. And then board members, does anyone have any announcements to share? Okay, not seeing any hands raised. So we just wanted to share a reminder that the December meeting will be held in person for board members. The location is still to be determined. Guests may attend through the regular webinar link and access through the ABC Community School Partnership YouTube channel. So formal business will take place from 8:45 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. And at that time, the meeting will conclude for an informal holiday celebration. So with that, we will look forward to seeing you all. Oh, I see one announcement. We're recruiting for the teacher residency. And there's a link there in the chat. So thank you, Marjorie, for sharing that. And with that, we will go ahead and conclude this meeting. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.